Hey guys, we are going to continue the rest of our notes with features of a civilization. Okay, this is where we left off yesterday or Tuesday if you were in my classes in the uh, fourth period or third period, and then this is where we left on Monday if you were in first, second, or sixth period, right? We did specialized jobs and division of labor, right? So this is where for a society to exist and be productive, you have to spread up jobs, right? So jobs have to be split up, right? Today, what you are going to do, we're going to do something very similar. You're going to finish the rest of these notes on the same sheet of paper. I will tell you guys, though, right here, I saw a lot of people not writing down similarities and differences, and they just completely skipped this. This is a key component of these notes. You have to put how it's similar, how social classes are similar today, and how they're different from before, from the past. Okay. I will fill in this one with you guys. I will type it in real quick so you can see what it would be an option. But know that you need to do this for each category. Okay. And I'm here. I'll have a Google Meetup. You can send me emails if you have any kind of questions. But this is a key component of this assignment. And then there will be a separate Google Doc that you will have to just answer a short question. And that'll be your assignment for today. Just remember, if you have any kind of questions, you can jump in the Google Meet during our class hours, and I will be able to answer them. So, starting off, social classes, we have talked about this absolutely so much between sixth grade and seventh grade. Okay. This is the patricians and the plebeians. This is the feudal system with fiefdom and serfs and peasants and nobles and lords and kings, right? This is today with the middle class and low class. Like social classes are a fundamentally sound part of a civilization being created. It doesn't sound great. It's not fun to group up people and say, oh, you're part of this class, but it's required for a society to exist or a civilization to exist. If you want to get rid of all social classes, that would be a fundamental foundation of communism where everybody is equal. Everybody gets the same amount of money. Everybody has the same amount of resources. That is a very fundamental belief of communism. So if you are one of those people that you just keep preaching about how much you love communism in class, that is what you agree with. Everybody's equal and that everybody has the same amount of money. If a doctor gets paid $40,000, then a janitor gets paid $40,000. It doesn't matter. Across the board, everybody has the same amount of money. That's communism. Okay. But if you have social classes, like what I'm suggesting here, which is in our society, it is dividing society based off of a social and economic status, with upper class at the top and then a lower class at the bottom. So in the past, this example that you see is about Egypt. Okay. Egypt had a very distinctive social class structure. You had your farmers, your servants, and your slaves. They were at the bottom. Then above that, you had a couple of people that were um, sorry. You had a couple of people that were more educated. They could scribe out for the pharaoh. You had your nobles. Oh my gosh. You had your nobles, which were going to be like royalty. They helped the pharaoh, and then your pharaoh is at the very top. He was seen as a god in Egypt, absolute top of the pyramid, the social structure. Okay, so your king, your pharaoh was at the top. Slaves would have been in the lower. That is a social class. How people are perceived in that social class, they're very different. People would see slaves different than people saw a king. Okay. Modern examples, if you're using the United States, for example, we don't really do our social structure based off of uh, status in government, right? We don't see our president as being our top of our social structure. That's not it. We actually use our social structure in the United States off of money and based off of how much money you make or the job that you have. Okay. So as you can see on this, modern examples, if you are part-time employee, you're unemployed, and you might have a high school education, you are in that lower category. Then it starts going up, right? Some college would be in this next category. So if you have a little bit of a higher education, you might do a blue collar clerical job, right? That would be in this working class section. That also could be people that don't have any kind of college, but they're working like factory jobs. You could be in this category. Um, Factory jobs can also make a ton of money, and you could be also in this middle class category above that, right? That's professional support and sales, bachelor's degree. Somehow I do fit in this category. This is where I'm at. I'm not gonna show you or tell you guys how much money I make, but I have a bachelor's degree from college. That's a 4-year degree. Okay, so 4-year degree is a bachelor's degree. This is where I'm at. I am definitely not in the 72 to 100,000 range. And then even above that, that's going to be that upper middle class. They're making very good money, and they're in the $200,000 range. So when you are doing this features of a society, right? If you were going to answer these questions here, let's see if I can just pull it out like this. Make sure you are answering this. So this first part would be dividing society based on social economic status, right? With upper class at the top and lower class at the bottom. See, it's just this at the top. It's this definition down here. Okay, so dividing society based on social economic status with upper class at the top and lower class at the bottom. Then when we look at the past versus the present, okay, the past, it was divided up based off of ranking. You had kings were in the top and slaves at the bottom. Then today, it's based off of money and education, where there are 3 different level. Well, there are multiple than 3. We'll keep that out of there. Based off of money and education, where your income decides your position in society. Okay, so that's pretty much it right there. All right, the similarities between the two, right? You have similarities that are, let's say, social structure divides how people are grouped up in society, and then differences between the two. So similarities, it doesn't matter. Social structure across the board, it still divides how people are seen in society. But then your differences are how they have been chosen historically versus today. Okay, so in the past they were chose by just how they were seen as a rank. Today it's seen by money. Okay, make sure you're filling in those categories on your paper. Okay, even for the next ones. All right, now we'll go through the next ones. All right, technology and public works. For a society to function, you have to have an infrastructure. Okay, we actually, as the United States, we just passed an infrastructure bill not too long ago, just like a week ago. Okay, or 2 weeks ago now, and that was inventions in society to make your civilization more advanced and better suited to take care of all citizens of your society. Okay, so our infrastructure in the United States are canals so that like boats can be travel around in cities. Railroads. Railroads are a big one. Okay, it's a way to mass transport materials and goods across the entire country. We have a highway system. So our highway system and interstate system, we're able to easily transport between states, even ourselves, like if we wanted to go on vacation, if anybody was going on a Labor Day trip. Those are all in this technology and public works. States don't individually do that. That's the government. That's the society. That's the civilization that does that. The reason why is because if it was up to individual states, we would be a mess. Okay, there would be Indiana would do one thing, and then Illinois would do another. We might not have roads that connect. We might not have water lines that connect. We might not have gas lines that connect. Okay, gas lines, natural gas. If you guys remember back in December of this year, We had a gas problem because Texas froze over. Like their gas lines, they couldn't get more gas because it was so cold. So our gas lines that came to Indiana from like Texas and our transports, we didn't have that supply. Okay. That's this technology in public works. In historical systems and in historical societies, that was very limited to something just like irrigation systems, getting water for their crops. The society and the civilization that was created what made things that made it easy to get crops water. When we covered ancient Rome last year, aqueducts. Do you remember those giant pipelines that carried water from the mountains to different fields? The civilization of Rome made those aqueducts. Okay, a lot of those aqueducts still exist. Same thing with Rome. Rome's biggest invention out of everything that they did or achievement was their roads. Roman roads still exist today. Okay, thousands of miles of roads. That is that technology in public works. Okay, today we still have irrigation system. Okay, so you can see that historic and modern example. We still have irrigation system, but it's a little bit different. We have more technologically advanced water system. Before they had an individual bucket that might pour out into the fields. Today you can just turn on a sprinkler and do a whole entire field, right? Um, but if you were going to look at historic examples of infrastructure technology and public works, you could look at roads, irrigation, um, government buildings, things like that. But then today, when you look at it, you might have city plumbing, right? There's plumbing that goes between all the different cities and houses. You might have public water. We have some of you guys might be on well water, but if you're in Bainbridge or you're in like Brownsburg, Avon, Plainfield, you're on public water. Like the whole city manages that. Okay, so there are some differences and similarities between the two. Okay, next we have religion. Religion is a pretty important component of society because what it does is it allows groups of people to explain the world around them for answers that we don't have answers to, or for questions that we don't have answers to. Okay. So when you look at ancient Rome, Greece, and even ancient Egypt or the Norse, the Scandinavian countries, they created religion for the sole purpose of they didn't understand things like why we were born, why we died, what happens after we die, why does the sun rise, like why does it rain sometimes? Okay, those are questions that now scientifically we have a lot of answers to, but back then they didn't have the science there. So, in Norse mythology, whenever it thundered and rained, it was because Thor was mad, right? It gave them a way to explain the questions that people had for centuries, right? And if you look in the past and you look at past religions, and I just named a few: Greek, Roman, Norse, Egyptian, Chinese, they were all polytheistic, meaning they had tons and tons of gods to help their civilization and explain all of these things. Even Aztec, Mayan, they had multiple gods, right? Then you look into modern day examples and you look at modern day religions, there are more monotheistic religions based off of one god than there are the polytheistic. Okay, so we've narrowed down, we've changed religion over time to it's now more focused on monotheistic than it was polytheistic. Okay, but religion is probably one that a society would still be able to thrive on even if it didn't exist, because there are people in society, there are people in civilization that are atheistic and do not necessarily believe in God, and society doesn't crumble just because those people exist. Okay, so it is important, but it's important for several factors. A lot of religious text creates guides of ethics and why you should be a good person, and it helps build up citizenship in societies that way. That doesn't mean you would have to follow a religion to be a good person, but it does. There is a core foundation of a lot of holy texts that is the reason why they're there. The last one that we'll go through is art and architecture. Styles of construction and art were added to buildings to show the power and talent of a civilization. So, the reason why architecture was originally created was to show off how strong a society really was, right? You have something like the Colosseum, you have something like the Great Wall of China, you have something like Egypt's pyramids. They weren't there as an example of, oh, let's just build a pretty building. It was, look how strong our society is. Look how absolutely rich our society is. We can do this because we can afford to do this, right? The Colosseum, this is the example that we have here. This was Roman's Colosseum. It wasn't built when Rome was founded. It wasn't even built until like 69 AD, like 500, 600 years after Rome was even started. But Rome's Colosseum was unique, and it's still unique, and people love going to see it. And if you plan on going the Italy trip in the spring, like, you will see it. But it's a massive show of force because the columns and arches that were used to create this building, they were made from natural materials, and they're just an architectural like masterpiece. Like, there's nothing about this building that is a solid core foundation like you would see in a house. It's completely circular. The arches displace all of the weight. It's massive. It's monumental, and it's the reason why our sports stadiums today, like the Lucas Oil Stadium or Bankers Life Fieldhouse, it's the reason they're there is because this is that foundational of, let's show off what we can do. Okay. Same thing about the pyramids. Same thing about the Great Wall of China. You could say the same thing about several buildings, the Eiffel Tower, right? When you look at modern day examples, a lot of them are more unique. Okay. Skyscrapers are an example of this, though. A lot of skyscrapers that are made, a lot of skyscrapers that they're built, okay, are to show off a civilization's power, to show this is how rich we are. I can build this massive skyscraper just for the sole purpose of showing you, look what we can do. The Burj Khalifa in Dubai, right? It's the biggest skyscraper in the world today. But the Burj Khalifa is fundamentally awful. And if you actually look into it, it's terrible. They don't even have a plumbing system. So they have toilets, they have restrooms, but it just goes into this giant vat underneath the building. And every day they have to pump out all of the human waste every day. They don't have a plumbing system that runs it out. It has to be pumped manually every day. Like, it's this technological feat, the massive tower, the massive skyscraper that it is. But every single day, people have to pump out that poop. Like, it's just crazy that you have something so modern, but also so ancient at the same time, because plumbing has been invented for several hundred years. Okay. That's it. I'm not going to make you guys do this. So this is where we'll end. So make sure you fill in all of those notes that are attached to this, and then also do the Google Doc with that question. With that question, I have a Google Doc there. I would like to see as many examples as you possibly can. Think critically about this. It lets me know that over these past couple of days, through these notes, you are understanding what the purpose of this was. Okay. Jump into Google Meet if you guys have any questions, and I will see you guys later.